Hello, this is History Shorts with the Artifactual Scholar. Today, I'll be talking about the Palmer raids and the First Red Scare. In the aftermath of victory in the First World War, the United States faced a period of internal turmoil and transformation. In 1919 and 1920, episodes of labor strife, racial violence, and anti-immigrant prejudice swept the country, creating fear and chaos for many Americans. The collapse of the Romanov dynasty and success of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia in 1917 terrified many Americans, creating paranoia and fear of a communist revolution in the United States. That fear increased in the spring of 1919, when a series of anarchist bombings targeting politicians and business leaders occurred across the country. One of those targeted was the United States Attorney General A. Mitchell Palmer. In response, the Department of Justice began investigating suspected political radicals, including communists, anarchists, and labor activists. Palmer placed a young attorney, J. Edgar Hoover, in charge of the intelligence gathering operation. The legal basis for Palmer's actions was the Sedition Act of 1918, a piece of wartime legislation which made it illegal to criticize or disparage the government, constitution, armed forces, or flag of the United States. In November 1919, the Department of Justice launched a series of raids to round up suspected radicals. These raids tended to focus on immigrant communities, particularly Russian and Italian. During the raid on the Russian People's House, a community and education center in New York City, students and teachers were dragged from classrooms and beaten, and offices were ransacked by federal agents. In Hartford, Connecticut, nearly 100 Russian immigrants were arrested and held for 5 months without access to lawyers or knowledge why they had been imprisoned. That December, nearly 250 immigrants, including social activist and communist Emma Goldman, were deported to Russia aboard the transport ship Buford, dubbed the Soviet Ark. These early arrests met with broad public approval, and Palmer's reputation and political ambition grew. He hoped to use his role to launch himself to the Democratic Party presidential nomination in 1920. The raids and arrests continued into the new year. On January 2, 1920, federal agents launched raids across the country. Between 3,000 and 10,000 suspected radicals were arrested in roundups in more than 30 cities. As with the earlier raids, prisoners were physically abused and property destroyed, and many of the arrests were made without proper warrants. The vast majority of those detained had done nothing wrong, yet were often denied legal counsel, and in some cases held for days without food. Palmer viewed the arrests as a success, but claimed that hundreds of thousands of radicals were still at large, and that an attempt at revolution would be launched on May 1st, the international workers' holiday known as May Day. The Attorney General pushed for the mass deportation of the detainees, but met resistance from within the federal government. The Department of Labor, created in 1913, was responsible for immigration and naturalization, and by extension, deportation. The Assistant Secretary of Labor, Lewis F. Post, believed that Palmer's dragnet had led to the imprisonment of many innocent people, and after reviewing evidence, invalidated more than 70% of the deportation warrants. Though Palmer's political allies called Post to testify before Congress, the Labor Department position was upheld. Meanwhile, public opinion had begun to shift. News of the brutality of the raids and questions about their constitutionality caused great concern. Labor unions and immigrant aid societies openly condemned the Palmer raids. As a result of the January raids, the American Civil Liberties Union was organized and immediately set about to challenge the legality of the Sedition Act of 1918. And on May 1st, 1920, nothing happened. Palmer's prediction of bloody, armed communist revolution in the United States never materialized. Gradually, the Red Scare died out, along with Palmer's dreams of the presidency. This has been History Shorts. Thanks for watching.